Dagwe. My name is Jose Soto. Everybody knows me as Joe Soto. Uh, my tribal name is Cascatehuases. In Cree, in Taino is Takasi Bahagua. And I first moved onto this land somewhere on and about the fall of 1998. And when I moved here, there was a woman living here by the name of Laura McGuire, and she was kind of responsible, or one of the persons responsible for recreating the Finger Lakes trails. I came to see the property, and immediately I knew that this was a place where I had to be, um, and it was also given to me in a vision. I had thought for many years that that vision was in Canada, but I was wrong. The vision of the property and the land that I was on was actually here. Um, and they would not sell it to anyone else. And I was really just looking for a little piece of land, 1 to 2 acres of land where I can come and do ceremonies, come fast, and do the things that I was taught to do. So we're not connected to the grid in any way, shape, or form. We kind of revitalized this land to its natural habitat. And today when you go out in the yard, you wouldn't even notice that it was clear cut, and whatnot. So there's been a lot of work that's come here, and that we've done here, and through the years. Um, I used the knowledge that I learned from some of my relatives in Puerto Rico, and also from my Honka family in the Cree Nation, where I was partly raised, and put that knowledge to practice, and also my connection to the land, and asking the land, what it wanted me to do to help it, you know, and I went to work about 5, 6 years ago. I met this young woman who was interested in her own healing, and part of that healing practice, we started doing a lot of trauma work, and we started to kind of to go around doing um, some of our traditional more healing work around, something came to light, and I really never really talked about this before. As Alexis began to have an affinity for seeds, and started to really connect with the land, something was also happening to me around that time, about how to kind of reconnect with the land in a way that I hadn't before. And again, it took us back, or took me back, to the understandings of land that I've had when I was a child, and also growing up and watching my elders, and my aunties and my uncles, um, connect to the land and grow food on the land and raise animals and things like that. As our healing practice began, and Alexis got into doulaship, and I started kind of remembering things that I learned from my grandmother about midwifery, and about connecting to the land through that, and understanding that the seeds come from the land, and we are part of that seed. And something started to kind of like really liven me up, remembering some of the teachings of our elders and whatnot has been the most um, enlightening for me, because it continues to help me to heal from my own traumas, as I continue to connect with the land. Um, this year we decided to expand, and in that expansion we started to grow corn and beans and squash, um, mostly known as the Three Sisters. We even started growing foods, that are from other countries, including our own. nation, and it's been really interesting, to say the least. There's been a lot of tears. There's been a lot of sometimes arguments, and discussions, and there's been a lot of uh, back and forth in ways to meet each other in the middle. Um, it's been really interesting and promising to bring some of these matrilineal teachings back to this way of growing food, because we have had to kind of listen to our women. We've had to kind of like revitalize ourselves through those seeds, and how that seed is connected to our mothers, and how that our mothers are connected to our grandmothers, and our grandmothers are connected to our great grandmothers, and so on and so forth, and how these teachings have come all the way up to now. So I really come to believe that everything that we're doing here right now, my great great grandparents, Maya's great great grandparents, and Alexis's great great grandparents thought about what we're doing right now. They foresaw that we would have to come back to nature so that we can sustain ourselves and sustain our children and grandchildren and great grandchildren and so on and so forth. Um, so, and then, the capacity that it's brought us is to have a good mind on a different level. It's just not voicing that good mind. It's not only behaving in that good mind. It's actually living that good mind. Um, with that said, there's all this sometimes trial and error because of our own humanity, but it has allowed us to actually commune with each other in the way that our ancestors did a long time ago, and I find that part really beautiful. And so I give thanks. We start the day, or I start the day. I'm usually the first one up, and I come out to my porch and I come greet the sun and to give thanks to everything that we have going on here. 2 years ago, all we were doing was upkeeping the land, and this year, right now, we got cactus, we got banana plants, we got punka corn, we have nightshade, we have medicinal plants, we have amaranth, we have beans from different nations, we have seeds,
We're just doing right by our ancestors and listening to our elders and listening to what the seeds are telling us to do and how to interact with each other, And that's how our community grows. You work with the soil, you heal your traumas, together in community. And so this is what we do. And it's been an amazing process. And I'm grateful for Joe and his family for taking me in and allowing me to have the space to see this through in that way, because it's our duty as like the younger generation to, not just leave this work on the elders. Our elders carry these stories and tell us what to do, but it's our job to do it. And if we don't do it, then nobody else is going to. So, thank you.
That seed, carries the stories of our ancestors, and it carries the creation story of who we are as a people. And being Taino and going back to this has brought me so much love in a way that I had not known before, and a capacity to have compassion in a way that I didn't know before. Because as I continue to work with the land, and I continue to try to clean this piece of land up here, and we try to protect this forest that surrounds us. I know that my ancestors are hearing me. And as we are on Gayokono land, the ancestors of the Gayokono people see what we're doing. And I really believe that they help us. They help us to continue uh, this process that we've begun, including our extending ourselves to the Gayakono people, and having them come and having them partake on this land because this is their land.